When we have bad winter weather, sometimes it seems to come with a lot of wind. Well, wind is very obvious how it damages a roof. And wind can be even more brutal to a roof this time of year because the shingles are brittle. During the summer, the shingles are nice and soft, and so they can flex in the wind. But in the wintertime, the wind can just snap a shingle off. A less obvious way that winter weather can affect your roof is the buildup of snow and ice. I've got a fancy little picture of a house here. I drew it myself. The way snow and ice can affect your roof is a layer of ice can build up on the top of your roof. And during the day, when the sun comes out, it might start to melt some of that snow or ice. And combined with the warm air inside the house, the warm air can actually trickle up into your attic space. And you might think that warm air in the attic would be good because that would melt some of the snow and ice off your roof, but it's actually very bad because what happens is this area might get warm, but this area right here is the tricky part because as this area warms up, the ice gets thinner and thinner because the water goes downhill, but it actually builds up here because this area is not warm, because this is the outside cold air. So this area right here can form what's called an ice dam. As the water melts and travels down the roof and then refreezes at night, this area becomes thicker and thicker while this area becomes thinner and thinner. And then imagine after a couple of days of this, all of a sudden, the water has no place to go. It's trying to go downhill, but it hits this ice dam and it can actually back up under the shingles, and then water can start pouring in to your house. Now, back in 2012, I had a lady from Benton call me and say, hey, I'd like you to come look at my roof because it's leaking. And I said, well, we haven't had any rain. When's the last time that it leaked? She goes, well, it leaked yesterday, really, really bad. I said, yesterday we had a bunch of snow and ice, but we didn't have any rain. And so I went to her house, and her entire back wall of her house, her kitchen and her living room had water pouring in all the way across the house because of this little phenomenon. It doesn't happen very often, but it can happen. And whenever it does happen, I think she had over $30,000 worth of damage to her property. We had to replace all the kitchen cabinets, the whole wall inside the living room. Her flooring got really wet and had to be dried out, and it was a pretty bad deal. So the solution to this problem, there's actually 3 different solutions. One, you can build up this insulation so that you don't lose so much heat out of the house into the attic. You don't want a warm attic. That's the opposite of what you want. You want your attic to be just as cold as the outside air. That way you don't have this melting. You want it to all melt at the same time. When the sun comes out and the whole roof melts at the same time, that's what you really want. So the solution is more insulation in your attic, or more ventilation, because when this hot air comes up, you want it to actually go out of the roof. You don't want the hot air to stay there. So adding a ridge vent is a really great idea to vent the ridge of your roof, the highest part of the roof. The other solution is a product we call Ice Shield. Now, Ice Shield goes on your home from the edge of the roof up to about 2 foot past the interior wall, and it basically builds this solid sheet of waterproof protection at the bottom of the roof so that when this happens and the water goes up under the shingles, it can't get into your house because there's this layer of ice shield protecting the house. So this product over here, this is Certainteeds Winter Guard. It is an ice shield. It's a waterproof membrane. So a lot of people don't realize that shingles aren't waterproof. They're what's called water shedding, which means they rely on gravity to shed the water. So if water were to ever go backwards, it could easily get under this shingle. And that's what happens in an ice dam, is that the water's trying to go downhill, but it hits this block of ice and the water can't go anywhere, so it starts to build up. Well, that's when it can get behind your shingles, and then it's gonna find a nail hole, and then it's gonna come into your house. Well, with this ice shield on your roof, It actually seals around all of the nails and completely makes the bottom part of your roof watertight, so that if any water gets under your shingles, it can't make its way into the house. It comes in a 3-foot wide roll. It peels and sticks to the edge of the house. So sometimes you need 1 row, sometimes you need 2, sometimes you need 3 or 4. Just depends on how your house is made and what the code requirements are of the city that you live in. So the other solution that we talked about was ridge vent. There's actually several types of ventilation, but the one that we recommend the most is the ridge vent, because it actually goes at the peak, the highest point of your house, which would be as the hot air rises, it would be naturally going to the highest point. So this product rolls out on top of the ridge and then gets bent to fit the ridge, and then it gets covered in ridge cap shingles. Ridge vent is very important to allow the hot air to escape your attic, because this time of year you do not want warm air in your attic. Any warm air in your attic, you want it to leave as quickly as possible. Every single roof that we put on, we put ice shield in the valleys. Now, depending on what city you live in, some cities require ice shield along the eaves. Others do not. I wish all cities would require ice shield along the eaves, because it's a problem we have. I mean, I've had ice dams happen in Benton all the way down to Mound City. I did one in Mound City back in 2008. That's an hour south of here, so you would think that they would have even warmer weather down there. Well, it's the same. Matter of fact, the shingle manufacturers recommend any state north of Tennessee should put ice shield along their eaves. So we put ice shield along the eaves of every roof if it's required. If not, we do offer it to all of our customers. You don't need to be up on your roof at all right now. As a matter of fact, if you have a roof problem today with as much snow and ice as we have out there, unfortunately, we couldn't come out and get on your roof. Now, we'd be happy to come out and look on the inside and see what's happening, on the inside, and maybe take a few pictures outside, but setting up a ladder and attempting to get on the roof is a recipe for disaster this time.